Hello, welcome back to I Sew with Joy. Today I will be showing you how to hand stitch our beginner sprout kit. This is a butterfly. In the kit you purchase, you'll have the thread. So this is actually a thread, also known as a floss, embroidery floss. You'll have a rainbow color and also the color that's going to be used for the main body. In addition to that, you will have the art print that is going to go, the art design that's going to go on the fabric. You'll get your hoop. You get the fabric itself as well as a couple of needles. These are wide-eyed needles to allow for easier loop-in. For this project here, I will be using the full six, let me say six, I mean six individual threads that typically come in embroidery floss. So to start this, you will also need a pair of scissors. You do not need a stand, but I brought this here so that it makes it easier and I can actually work with both hands. In addition to that, I also have a thread pull, which you can, it's called a needle threader, which you can use. You can either purchase it or I have it available on my website as well. So let's get started. The first thing you need to be aware of is that sewing is easy once you put your mind to it. It's not meant to be complicated. It's not meant to be challenging. And always remember, if for any reason you get frustrated, it is always best to take a step back and then come back later when you're ready and feel like you're ready to continue sewing. So for this, I'm going to first start with the body of my butterfly. So for my butterfly, when I say body, I mean just this parts here, as well as the face and the antennae. And for that, I'm going to be using the the green thread. To thread your needle, you're going to need a needle pull. Alternatively, you can also do this if you don't know how to, if you have pretty good eyesight. I happen to wear glasses, so this is just a faster way to do it. So you just put it through first and then just pull it through the eye. If you can do it yourself without that, that's perfect. Now, when you're threading your needle, remember you don't want your thread to be too long. You want just enough thread to work with, that you can work with, and usually the rule of thumb is no longer than your arm. So if your arm is a certain length, that's what you want to work with. It just makes for a comfortable stitching. So now I have my length, and I'm going to go ahead and snip what I don't need. Next, I'm going to take the longer piece here and just create a knot. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a good old regular knot, like so, and just pull it through. Now, when you start embroidering, you want to always remember you start from the bottom up. Now, before we even start that, I want you to take a look at this thread because it is uneven. It's not an even length, it's uneven. Why do we do this? We basically do this to make sure that you have enough thread. If you have the double, which would actually be 6 thread pieces, I mean 12 rather, so it's 2 sides of 6, it makes it a little too thick, and you want this to look just natural. For this art piece, I'm also going to mention, while you see the dotted lines here, they are not meant to tell you the stitch length. It's just meant as a guide for where you start stitching. So whenever you're embroidering, you always start from the bottom up. Why do we do that? Because you want a way to hide the knot that you just created at the end of your thread. For this purpose, I'm going to start from the bottom right here and of the body. So this takes a little bit of getting used to. You're not going to get it all at the same, the very first time. Some people have great hand-eye coordination, which is wonderful. But if you don't have that, that's not a problem at all. So just put it through. And now you have it. It's the knot you created earlier is going to hold it there. And next, you're going to just find a little bit of a distance next to it and put it down there. Okay, and you're going to go a little further out and put it through again, just taking care to follow the knot. Now for this here, I want to create a little bit of an overloop. So what I'm going to do is come back to the initial stitch that I've created here. So right here I have one stitch, and I'm going to kind of move this thread to the side and put my needle back in the middle. what that does is it creates a little bit of overlap. So you'll see what it looks like shortly. After we do a few, you'll start to see it come together. Now, again, first practice is simple stitches. You don't need to do anything. These kits are meant to just make life a lot easier and a good way to practice. And, so again, find the last one there and put it in the middle. The needles you get with this project are also slightly blunt, blunter than the ones you would typically get with other projects. Why do I do that? Because these sprout kits, are usually made for folks to be able to sew without being comfortably sew without getting hurt. So again, move the thread over and just continue to do that. So hopefully you can see how that is starting to form. Again, like I mentioned, the stitches are not meant to, the dotted lines you see are not meant to tell you the stitch length. It's just meant to guide you as you continue along this journey. Now, if you, for some reason, make a mistake and you feel that it's completely over the guided dotted lines, like, it's not very clear and you can't, maybe you put your stitch in the wrong place because you're maybe you're distracted or something happens, don't panic. You can easily clip the thread and just go ahead and pull it from the bottom. Remember, we always start everything from the bottom. On the bottom side, what I recommend is you take that and then you tie a knot on the bottom to hold it in place and then just start over again. And when I say start over, I mean start from where you left off. Don't feel like you have to start all the way from the beginning. This is a beginner kit. You're going to take some time and learn this, and then you'll start doing the more complicated kits. Remember, sewing is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to teach you hand-eye coordination. It helps with brain development. There are a lot of positive things about sewing. Now, as you can see here, it looks like my other piece of thread, the other side of my thread is starting to come almost equally with the piece I'm sewing. So what I'm going to do is take this and just pull a little bit. So now, again, it's shorter. And I'm just going to work this through. Now, because this butterfly is meant to have multicolored wings, I am going to use this thread just more as a way to frame the body of the butterfly, and then next I'm going to use the butterfly stitches to create everything else. Now, if you notice, when I first started making that curve, I did a straight stitch. The reason for that was because it just makes sense when you're making a curve. Don't feel like you have to go back and do the loop over like you see me doing here. This just makes life a lot easier for anyone who's trying to do this. Now, these kits are available on my site at isewithjoy.com. It will come with the design pack, the design you choose, the design of your choosing. So there's an available option to select it from the drop-down feature, and then you will once you choose that, the next thing is you will receive it in the mail with everything I mentioned earlier. It comes with the thread, it comes with the design, it comes with the hoop. And the great thing about this hoop is it makes a lovely gift. Also great for birthday parties. So if you wanted to do something for a birthday and you're not entirely sure what would be a fun art piece, this is the one for you. Now, I don't recommend it for very young kids. I believe the starting age for this is 8, and the reason for that is because they have to have pretty good hand-eye coordination, and also, or some level of hand-eye coordination, because this also teaches you to do that. But it's also a safety thing. You don't want little kids running around with needles without understanding the potential hurt that it could cause other kids or those around them. So you just want to be careful there. So not included in this kit is a pair of scissors. I do recommend that you have a pair, a small pair close to you. Craft scissors are fine, but any pair of scissors you have at home will work just fine as well. So don't feel like you have to go out and buy a new pair of scissors. Now, if you saw what I did earlier, my thread was starting to have a little bit of an issue. All you do when that happens is you just, work it through little nudging, nudge it a little bit, and it will fix itself. So for those who have never sewn, this is a fun way to start. And also, I hear a lot of people say, I want to pick that up, but I've never actually done, I've never done it. My grandmother used to sew, my mom used to sew, and I didn't really get into it. This is an opportunity to learn from the comfort of your home without having to feel embarrassed in a class. You don't need to think of other people taking the class, because you are learning at your own pace. This is a sew along project, and you learn to do this by yourself when you feel you're ready. And don't worry too much if you're not fully on your stitch line. Remember, this paper stitch or this design is going to go away. because it's water dissolvable, so you will not see it. Once this is done, all you will see is the thread with the work you've just completed. I do have, if you're looking at a link of mine, I have this, for those who might be interested, this hoop holder under a list of my favorite things. I've tried various ones. I prefer the double because um, when I'm doing a class, it just, it gives a little bit more stability, but it's not a requirement to have the double ones. They have many pretty good single arm ones. Oops. Uh-oh. So again, when you have that, just stop a little bit and give yourself time to catch the next thread. And I should mention, when you are working with this, you might feel like your needle is getting sticky. That's okay. If it bothers you a lot, you can get some wax and just run your thread through. So it looks like I have a little bit of a knot there, and I want to fix that. This project is designed to take between 35 and 40 minutes. It's not a long project. Okay, I want to give you an example here. So you see there, I have a knot. When you encounter something like that, just kind of use your needle to tease it until it comes apart. If you can, or you can ask an adult to help with that, and eventually it will open up. And sometimes I have, had situations where it didn't open up and all I did was just cut the thread and start over again. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But this one, I got lucky and it opened up, so. Okay. So again, I'm just going to go to where this body starts here. Remember, because every time you're starting this, you're starting from the bottom, it kind of saves you from being too worried about what the design looks like. What you really truly care about is what it looks like on the top, because the bottom is going to be covered. And for the bottom, if you're interested, I can share a video. For that, all you need is a piece of felt cut to the size of the hoop, and you can just glue it down to cover up these edges that you have here. Or you can just cut the edges as close as you can to your hoop. There is no requirement that you have to, that you have to have it sealed on the back. I actually find it more fun just looking at some of the things that occurred on the back of my thread when I was sewing. The other thing I do recommend is putting your finger on your thread as you go on the back end, because it kind of helps tell you when you haven't pulled your thread all the way. It's kind of a good reminder that you might need. Oh, and there we go. So my first mistake because I wasn't paying attention. So for this, I don't need to cut the thread. All I need to do is just go back in through the hole I went in. And there you go. It comes right back out. Yeah. Yes, I do have my hoop can. Sometimes it can lean in depending on what I'm trying to do. So yeah, and see, you just go along again, quick, easy, not meant to be a stressful thing. Sewing, I learned to sew when I was 8 years old, and I can honestly tell you this was a lot of fun. My aunt at the time taught me to hand stitch. My dad's co-workers' wives taught me to knit and crochet. She would take my sister and I on a Saturday and show us how to do this. I remember at the time I was like, oh, this is not even something I'm ever going to use in life. But now, you know, it is clearly something I use on a day to day basis. A couple of weeks ago, my husband, his pants were the thread at the bottom of the pant hem was off. I guess it got caught in something, and it was a very easy thing to fix. So, oh, I should mention about the size. While this size here is pretty large, the size you get in your kit is slightly smaller. I made this large to make it easier for folks to see exactly what I'm doing. Your kit is going to be approximately 4 inches around, so that it makes for an easier way. To do this. And I feel like my thread didn't come all the way through. There we go. So now I can tell my thread needs to be extended a little bit again. So there, just extending it. And any stickiness you feel is actually coming from the adhesive for the art piece. So don't get too worried. Remember, you don't want to work with this while it is wet. If you do that, it will get rid of the art. It will dissolve the paper you're working with and eventually cause it to disappear, which you don't want unless you're ready to move forward. Let me move that a little bit. And I think these kits are also very good. Why do I? Because before you invest all your time, let's face it, kids change their minds about what they like all the time. Heck, as adults, we do the same thing. So before you start investing a whole lot of money in, purchasing needles and threads and hoops and different things, you want to make sure that this is something that they're going to enjoy. So you give them an opportunity. So we're done with this side, and we're going to do the same thing on this side, and then come through with the rest of the green thread. If you have any questions, the email is info@printedbonnet.com. Thank you, and I hope to see all the beautiful creations you create. If you do purchase a kit, please be sure to tag us when you create your design. Thank you. Trying to figure out if I need to add music to this, but this is the butterfly from embroidery kit listed on my site. These are scrap kits, and they are fun to make. These make a great birthday. make this shorter because now it's kind of getting in my way, and I only need it for a little bit longer. My kids take that so I'm doing arts and crafts, but my God, you sound funny. Yes, but I enjoy it. Oh. I love this butterfly. I can't wait till it's all stitched out. Birthday craft, what up? Woohoo! I think going to a birthday party and doing your own craft. One of the designs I got on my website, which offers the opportunity for folks to also, make it more personalized. You can put names, if you know your guest list, and have everyone hand stitch their own design. It entertains them. These needles are not sharp at all. So you can see here when it actually pokes the fabric because it is not sharp. Kind of need a little bit of force to do that. This keeps getting caught up in my embroidery hoop, which is a bit of a pain. Yeah, I'm almost done with the one thread. And next, I am going to finish up the antennae, the eyes, the lips. And just like I've said, I've done in the past, I'm going to leave enough so that I can finish it off later. Now, because this has thread, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to take it out. I'll take it out and go back to my green. I can use it for something else later, like to write a name if I want to. But I want to finish my little butterfly, the antenna and its body. Okay, so my kids and I watched what do you call it? Alice in Wonderland a few. This was during the pandemic, so maybe a couple of years ago, and I guess I don't know if, for folks who haven't seen it, there is a caterpillar there who eventually becomes a butterfly, but they were calling him Brown Salem or something like that. So what we now do every time we see a butterfly is we call them by the color of the butterfly, if that makes sense, with a Salem next to it. So brown Salem, blue Salem, green Salem, yellow Salem. Don't even ask, it's stupid, but it's fun. Yeah. So that's my little quirky side. And kids really do bring out fun sure do. My tails, my tails. I typically just split it. You can do what works for you. Not everyone uses this method, but this is how I was taught to do it. You split it down into 3, because in this case I was using 6, so split it down into 3. If you still had your thread, your needle on there, you could use a different method, but split it down and then just tie it. And that's it. And snip, snip. And split and tie. And don't forget, like, this back part, no one really looks at it. You're going to put stuff on there, so don't feel like you have to make it look very fancy. I personally don't have the time to spend doing fancy stuff. But earlier you heard me saying tail, take care of your tail. These are what we call the tails, okay? The underside after your stitches are done. I should only have 4 tails, so just confirming as I'm looking there. And that's 3, and this is my 4th. And once that's done, and I feel like this is secure, next thing I'm going to do is wet it. And, oh, good. Looks like, see, I stitched the bottom, so this is an easy fix because I don't want to. That must be so fancy. I don't want to mess up anything. Oh, so that's all. Nothing crazy. Fixed. Alright, so I'm going to go wet this and fully get this out. Actually, come on, let's go do this together. So you're going to see my footprint. Back when, I think it was my shoe shelf or something, but it came with one of those and I was like, this works perfectly with my hoop, so I keep it in my office to use for that. So take it off. And then now, you're just going to run some cold water. And it starts to dissolve. The paper is gone. This is why I always tell people, don't worry too much about, following the stitches on the design, because it's not going to be there once you're done anyways. So see, and it stays. If you see any of the pieces staining, you can just kind of use your hand to, get rid of it. The pieces of the, and that is the sticky paper which came with your design. And there you have it. So once you're done here, you can just go and you can let it dry, hang to dry. I usually would hang mine to dry, and then re-hoop it. Making sure here that I don't have any pieces of the sticky fabric. I do not. Re-hoop it, and then, yeah, it's a piece of thread in my sink. I don't want it. I need to come home and see that. Anyways, hang it to dry, re-hoop it, and you're good to go. So now what I would recommend, though, is that after it dries and you re-hoop it, now we're going to work on attaching the felt piece to the back. So come back either tomorrow or office. And this is what I worked on today. Anyways, don't forget, the kit is available on my website. It's great for birthday parties or your child who's learning to sew. ISewWithJoy.com is where you'll find this. There are different options. I was just doing this rainbow butterfly, but there are options for different art pieces. Learn to sew, give it as a gift, make personalized names for your friends and stuff like that. Awesome. We'll make a great teacher's present, and I feel like I'm dripping all over the place. But all right, thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.